Here we go, guys. This is gonna be my first attempt at doing a video like this, so I hope I'm doing this right. I have a theory. Magic, semblances, and dust are all actually connected. Not only that, but the way they're all connected explains what causes people's semblance to differ. Okay, let's start at the beginning. No, literally, the beginning of the timeline for the show. In order to understand how we can explain the science behind semblances, we need to first look at the magic of Remnant. Magic is an old trait, seen only in the time before the gods left. When Ozma returns as Ozma 2, he was surprised to see people using dust and semblances in place of the magic that was commonplace in his original era. Now, it's not out of the question for people to confuse magic and semblances. They almost seem indistinguishable.
There were 4 maidens existing in this world that could wield such tremendous power.
You mean like a semblance?
Like magic.
Yeah, first time hearing it's pretty crazy.
After all, everyone thought Crow's bird transformation was his semblance originally. Yet at the same time, the concept of real magic is something the characters in Remnant deem as crazy.
They really are magic.
So even though the two things seem similar, there's still a distinct difference between what the characters consider to be a normal semblance and something they consider to be something fantastical. So, to help us better understand what the characters are considering to be so unbelievable, let's better define magic and semblances. Magic is an old world ability. Now, we've only seen it used here and there, but there's enough to help me start to figure out some specific characteristics. First, magic has a black hole rainbow sort of aesthetic. Seen multiple times, the colors of the magic varies or pulsates between the whole color spectrum. Yet there's also almost always a black center to the magic being cast. We see it take many forms: orbs, beams, flames. There's no specific shape to magic, so it's clearly very versatile, both being something that seems elemental in nature, but we also clearly see it has more uses. It has healing properties, bringing Salem back to life and reincarnating Ozma. On that note, magic can also be given to others. Ozma gave Crow and Raven a piece of his magic, letting them turn into birds. He also gave some of his magic to the original maidens. Furthermore, the maidens' magic is also able to be passed on to someone else, similar to Ozma's reincarnation. Back to the Bronwyn twins, they show us that magic can be transformative in nature, altering their appearance and shape entirely. Lastly, we can see magic is hereditary. Salem and Ozma's children were also born with the ability to use magic. So this is the list we have for magic's properties, and honestly, semblances really aren't that much different. It's clearly apparent that semblances can be very versatile, not only in how it changes wildly from person to person, but also how one semblance can have multiple abilities. There are elemental semblances, like Nora's lightning and Cinder's fire. Jean's aura amp shows semblances can heal. Furthermore, the Shnees tell us that, while it's very rare, semblances can also be hereditary. So there's quite a few things semblances have in common with magic. The biggest difference is there's yet to be a whole transformative semblance like the Bronwyn's bird magic. Rhodes' steel skin implies there might be some semblances that alters your body, at least to some degree, but there's nothing that changes your entire size or shape just yet. Also, you can't give your semblance away to someone else, like how Ozma's given his magic away. We do see Pyrrha unlocking Jean's aura, but it seems more like she was just opening up something that was already inside of him, rather than giving him a piece of her power. It's similar, but it's not quite the same. Also, when it comes to the elements, it's not a universal thing. You get one element, unlike Salem's rainbow abilities, which I'm guessing is like all of the elements mixed into one. And of course, most importantly, you only get one semblance. While it can have multiple abilities or uses, you only get the one. Magic seems to be entirely limitless in its abilities. So we got this all covered, and honestly, the two seem very similar. But dust is a little weird in comparison. Dust is always just a rock. It can come in various forms, but it's very clearly mined, like any other mineral. Dust is also only elemental. It doesn't vary in its nature at all. The red ones do fire. It's the same way every time. You don't find a red one that shoots out trees or something. The only oddity is hard light dust and gravity dust, where rather than being an element, they actually seem more transformative in nature. But that's about it. So clearly, there's still some similarities between the three. But how is this possible? Well, like I said, Let's start at the beginning. The gods of light and dark used to feud until they reconciled their differences and combined to make humans. They used creation, destruction, knowledge, and choice to make humanity a pure middle ground between the two. Fast forward some years later, and this bitch Salem decides she wants to go to war with the gods because they won't bring her boyfriend back to life.
But you demand of me that which I cannot make so. Life and death are part of a delicate balance.
After humanity crosses the line by firing at the gods, they wipe the planet clean and fuck off, leaving only Salem behind until humanity can come back many years later. Well, wait a minute. There's definitely a big-ass gap there as far as the timeline is concerned. Somewhere in there, magic was lost, and dust and semblances started to occur. We don't see humanity again until Ozma 2 is unceremoniously dumped into the middle of civilization, figuring itself out again. So here we go. This is it. This is going to be the thing. The cornerstone of my entire theory. The key to my entire line of thinking for the rest of this video.
My own gift to them, used against me.
Okay, here we go. So, rewind a bit. Back to the gods collaborating to make humanity in the first place. The gods gave two different constructs that create both humanity and also became the relics down the line. Now, they don't clarify who gave which, but based off of this line from the god of darkness, I think it's pretty clear the god of light gave creation, and the god of dark gave destruction. This even lines up with the younger gods' obsession with burning his big brother's plants and shit before they stopped fighting. What we have been calling magic is actually destruction, an otherworldly ability that results in amazing powers. So you might be thinking, that's pretty crazy. But let me try to explain myself. A. The Grimm. So humanity wasn't the god of darkness's first crack at creating sentient life. He made the creatures of Grimm before that, and they spawned from the pools of destruction seen in Salem's flashback, and also near her mansion, wherever that is. Now, if we look at the Grimm, they actually have a lot of attributes that are surprisingly very similar to the abilities we see with magic. Versatile. Yes, Grimm can do many different things, and it can vary from Grimm to Grimm. Some can fly, some can run real fast, and the apathy's effect on people honestly feels like a semblance, doesn't it? They also have elemental abilities. We've seen Grimm launch fireballs and lasers, after all. Lastly, they do have transformative abilities. We've seen the Grimm reach an extra big mode that comes with a change in their appearance, even if it's minor. So does this prove destruction is magic? No, not on its own. But let me convince you, this isn't just a coincidence. Because B. The moon. So, when the god of destruction fucked off of Remnant, he blasted into the moon in the process, and it sent chunks of rock into Remnant. This is dust. Let me explain. Once he left, the dark purple beam that accompanied him was exactly the same as the one that wiped all of humanity off the planet, which was an aftershock of the god harnessing the people's magic and turning it against themselves. We've seen his gift literally only destroy, killing everyone and wrecking the moon. It's all been destruction. But these chunks of destruction-covered stone flew into the earth, introducing a foreign element into the world of Remnant. What if these stones, these chunks of the moon, with the god of darkness's destruction magic fused with them, lay dormant in the world before eventually becoming a gem of sorts? Sort of like how real-world gems are made. But during that process, it unlocked and harnessed the god's destruction and gave it an elemental property, becoming what we know as dust. So if magic is destruction and destruction made dust, how do semblances fit into this? How are semblances born from destruction? Well, let's take a closer look at what we know about semblances. Ren and Nora explain to us that semblances are unique to the individual.
Some say your personality and character can define your semblance, while some claim that it's the other way around. There are still many who don't see a connection at all.
Ren implies it's unclear how semblances are connected to their user. Yet, let's be honest, it can't be entirely random. Like, what are the odds the girl whose last name is Rose would have a rose petal aesthetic to her speed? Why didn't Harriet get rose petals? Why didn't Oobleck get lightning? But what's dictating the differences in their semblances? How can it be unrelated, yet seem so closely tied to the characteristics of the individual? Your semblance is triggered from your trauma. Like, let's think about it. People are affected by their traumatic experiences differently due to their unique personalities. Even twins, like Crow and Raven, have wildly different semblances. That's because even though their struggles and griefs while growing up were likely the same, they have different personalities. Crow grew from his experiences differently to how Raven grew from hers. This resulted in their different semblances. This also explains why Ren says some people think your semblance influences your character. People can really drastically change when they overcome trauma. If your semblance was related to that trauma, that might make it seem like your semblance was tied to your changes in character. And I'm not just pulling this concept out of nowhere. We even seem to get confirmation this is the case in the show itself. On multiple instances, we can see how people's semblances unlocks related to their trauma. Case in point, Jean. What are the odds Jean just so happens to unlock his semblance the moment he's watching one of his best friends and prior crush dying in front of him? Furthermore, what are the odds his semblance would also happen to be able to heal her and save her life in this moment? Jean's already experienced the trauma of losing a close personal friend. It's this dangerous moment, where he might relive that emotionally damaging event, does his body unlocks an ability that helps him avoid going through that again. We can also look at when Ren unlocked his semblance. Again, what are the odds that Ren would get a semblance that allows him to hide from the Grimm in the exact moment when he's surrounded by many very powerful Grimm? Like, Ren didn't get sticky feet or stretchy arms in this scenario. That wouldn't have helped him. He doesn't get something like blasting fire or shooting electricity in this moment because he's still too young and small to really fight back hard enough to save his life from the Knuckleavi. He got his meditation because his body knew that would be the ability that would save him from physical, emotional, or psychological harm. We could even attribute his second ability of reading emotions to this. Harriet was standing there, reminding him of Pyrrha's death, with her claims of just moving on when you lose someone. His body, in an attempt to save him from that emotional turmoil, just so happens to unlock an ability that helped him see through Harriet's words and reconcile with himself emotionally. This can't be a coincidence. We could even theorize this with Nora.
Oh, struck by lightning, didn't die.
You get struck by lightning and also just happen to get a semblance that helps you survive that? This is also why some people haven't unlocked their semblances. They just haven't experienced something traumatic enough in their lives that has their bodies unlock this self-saving ability. This is also why huntsmen, kids who grow up in villages outside of the kingdoms, unlock their semblances more often than regular civilians. They're in more dangerous situations more regularly, so they're more likely to experience something dangerous or life-altering that would warrant their bodies to unlock their semblances. Honestly, there's not a single doubt in my mind that this is the explanation behind people's different semblances. The different abilities, the different visual styles. The only thing that raises a few question marks in my theory is, how do the hereditary semblances work? Well, honestly, I have no idea. Sorry. But we're kind of missing a step. Once again, let's go back to the beginning. There used to be magic. Now there's only semblances. How did this happen? Well, because the God of Light made humanity a second time. He never left, but importantly, he didn't have the God of Darkness there with him. As we very clearly see, the God of Darkness does leave. Very extravagantly, might I add. But the God of Light just sort of fizzles away. We all sort of assumed he fucked off with his bro, but funny enough, he even shows us point blank that he never actually left. Because he brings back Ozma. Notice how the God of Darkness isn't here at all during this conversation with Ozma? There's really no reason he wouldn't accompany his brother. The two have always been side by side with each other during the major events of Remnant's past. The God of Darkness clearly actually left the world, but the God of Light stuck around. Why? Well, quite frankly, it's because he's painfully arrogant. The gods make it clear they love making new life and watching their little creations go about their lives. He even calls humanity,
This planet was a beautiful experiment.
and according to Crow's little puppet show, the God of Light even made sentient life already, like birds and presumably other animals. Why wouldn't he try to redo his favorite experiment all over again? Now, without having to compromise with his younger brother. The God of Light could go ham on doing whatever he wants. Hell, he was the one who constantly fought Salem and the God of Darkness that you can't bring people back to life. It'll set the world off balance, remember? but now suddenly he wants to bring back Ozma to life? After insisting the dude had to stay dead before? It seems to me that the God of Light just wants to play around with his little humanity sandbox again. But humanity is complex, and deep down they need that destruction inside of them in order to really live as humans. Otherwise, they wouldn't stand a chance against the creatures of Grimm, who are still roaming the world. So how could he create humanity without destruction? Well, it's actually pretty simple. We just have to go back to the beginning. No, like, the beginning of the show. Salem's monologue that starts episode 1 tells us flat out our answer.
Man, born from dust, was strong, wise, and resourceful.
Dust. Literally, the dust of the earth. When the god of destruction obliterates the planet, all we see left of the humans from before is a black, ash-like dust blowing away in the wind. A remnant of their essence created from their own destruction. The god of light is using that remnant of destruction, or the dust, to become its final piece in creating humanity again. And since it's just a destruction byproduct, it makes sense that the magic of that destruction wouldn't be as fully realized as before. So, to recap, the god of darkness's destruction became magic, he left and destroyed the moon, creating dust, he killed everyone, leaving their destruction-infused dust behind, the god of light used that dust to recreate humanity, and that weaker form of magic became Semblances. Dust, magic, and Semblances are all byproducts of the god of darkness's destruction. The end. That's my theory. I hope I explained this well enough. I don't really watch theory videos or anything, so I don't know if this will be bad by their standards, or if, like, this is already a theory that's out there, and everyone is going to enter this video thinking this is old news or something. I really hope this video turned out good. So yes, this was my first theory video, and I hope you at least had fun with it, whether you agree with me or not. Just a little food for thought. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this was good. Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Nako, Michael, James Dodds, Cool Duck, Andrew, Ramiel, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, G Extreme, Classy Critic, Surge, Dakota D, Taj, The Boulder Off Bros, and Noah. Did you agree with anything I said? Do you disagree with everything I said? Please tell me. Is this already a theory? I don't know, honestly. I really have no idea. I don't watch theory videos. So, like, I really just came up with this one day walking my dog. So, leave any and all thoughts and opinions on what I had to say. What are some theories that you think might come, like, are in the show about dust and semblances and magic and everything? Any and all thoughts and opinions, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to see them. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.